In this video, I'm going to be sharing with you some tips or some things that you need look into more in order to develop your quantity surveying career. And we are starting right now. So you are a quantity surveyor and you are doing the payments, you are doing the variations, you might be doing the quantity takeoff, even sometimes maybe cost estimation. But what else? What is the next step, or what do we need to start looking into in order to grow? Because at some point of your life, you will have to grow. You need to learn something more. So I'll be sharing with you a few tips now, or few things that we need to start learn or look into in order to advance our careers. And we are starting with the first tip, which is called look at the bigger picture. So how to look at the bigger picture, or what do we mean by looking at the bigger picture? I want you to zoom out. Zoom out means what? Start looking at the project from a higher or a bigger perspective. Like you are zooming out and you are seeing the project in front of you, how it looks. So on daily basis, I understand that you are doing quantity takeoff and some cost estimation, material, equipment, manpower, subcontractor, and all of that. And this is actually very important, I understand it, but you cannot keep doing only up to this extent forever. You need to start looking at the project overall cost. So for example, how much is the cost of the material in this project? How much is the cost of the manpower in this project? And how much is the cost of the equipment in the project? How much is the cost of subcontractors? And not only this, you need to start looking into the general requirements. In the general requirements, what is the duration of the project? And in this duration, how much are the salaries or the money that we will be spending for the supervision of the project? Project manager, construction manager, you have so many technical engineer, quantity surveyor, planner, document controller, and you have office boys, and you have foremen, and you have so much people that will be supervising the works. So the cost of these people as people, you need to start looking into. Also the electricity and water required for the works, you need to start looking into how do we calculate such costs. The general requirements of the project is a very important part, and actually usually we put it as a percentage or something. It doesn't work. Maybe in the future you can put it as a percentage, but as of now, you need to be able to understand how this cost is actually calculated. The supervision, the water, the electricity, all these running costs, the transportation of the project, not the transportation of the labors, which is calculated in the labors themselves. No, the transportation that is not accounted for anywhere in the project. So also the telephone, the internet, using the printers, all these things, the general requirements of the project is very important, something that we should understand in details. So from now on, you need to start calculating how much the project will cost in terms of supervision, in terms of electricity, water, consumables. And not only that, you need also to start looking into the company overheads. You need to start looking into the margins. Now, when I say that we have overhead of 6% or 8%, how do we calculate this percentage? How do we assume that the overhead is only 6%? You need to start to look into the turnover of the company in 1 year, how many worth of projects that you are doing, and to run these projects, what are the costs that you are incurring every year? So what is the percentage of the overhead from the project price or something? So you need to understand regarding to your company, if you are an employee or if it is your company, you need to be able to understand how much is the overhead actually for your company in order to be able to tender competitively for these projects. So you have to understand how much is everything in your company and what are the actual expenses, how much is the rent of your office, how much are the consumables for the office, how much are the visas, what are the staff in the office, what they are doing. So when you look into these things, you will be looking at the bigger picture instead of looking into how to price the block work, how many blocks we need and how many mortar we need and installers. And no, I want you to start looking into the general requirements and the margins, the overhead, the contingency, how do we calculate the contingency, what is the percentage of the contingency in this project, what is the risk of this project, and that's why how much a correct percentage for contingency should be. So these things you should start looking into more in order to grow and to develop your career. And if we are meeting for the first time, I am Ahmed Adel and you are watching Cost Engineering Professional, and here I help you develop the required skills and enhance your knowledge to elevate your cost engineering career. So if this is what you want, you can quickly subscribe. The second point we have here is that I want you to start looking at the project from different angles. And what do we mean by this? So you are a quantity surveyor working for a waterproofing company, let's say. So what are you doing on daily basis? You are just understanding how much is the cost of the materials required to do the wet area waterproofing and what is the productivity of the labors required to do the wet area waterproofing, and that's it. You are not looking into anything else. So this is how the subcontractor sees the cost and sees the project, material and labors and overheads and the profit. I understand that this is a general concept, but when you go one step more and you see things from contractor or main contractor perspective, you will see that the contractor is doing the same thing. How much is the material? How much is the labor cost? Plus how much is the subcontractor cost, which I was talking to you now about, which is coming from another quantity surveyor who is working for the subcontractor and understanding or calculating how much is the material cost and labor cost for the subcontractor. But for the main contractor, how the main contractor see this cost only as a subcontractor cost. The subcontractor will just give his quotation. But the main contractor himself, he also has in-house activities that needs material and needs labors, and he has his other costs, equipment and overheads and the profit and contingencies and all these margins that we discussed. But now, when you see the things from the main contractor perspective and from the subcontractor perspective, you will find a difference, which I told you now, that for the main contractor, the subcontractor cost is just one number. It is called subcontractor cost, and that's it. But when you go to see the things from the client perspective, which is again one step further above, the client sees all the cost estimation activities that you are doing as a main contractor or a subcontractor. You are going into the details, how much is the material, manpower, equipment, subcontractor, overheads, profits, everything. But do you think that the client is looking at the cost this way? Of course, no. For the client, he only cares about the construction rate. For example, what is the built-up area of the project and what is the construction rate? When you multiply the built-up area by the rate, it will give the client the total amount of the project, and this is the only thing that he wants to know. He wants to know only how much is the project, because he has, other than the money that he will pay to the contractor who will execute the project at this amount, the client has also the consultant fees, and he has also, let's say, any authority fees, and he has other fees that are related to his overhead and the profit as a client, hiring a consultant to design and a contractor to execute in order to take this project in the end, and he will calculate his cost that way in order to use this project for some other business. It might be a mall, a hospital, a hotel, or even a building. Maybe the client is a real estate developer, he will just sell the apartments. So the client has a very different calculations in his mind. He cares only about how much is the cost of consultancy, how much is the cost of construction, and how much are the selling prices of the apartments, and what is his margin or overheads and all of that. So this is how the client is seeing the project. So you see, I started from a subcontractor, then main contractor, then the client. Everyone is looking to the project from a different perspective. So it doesn't matter where you are working right now, a subcontractor or a main contractor or a client, you need to understand how others are thinking about the project. As I told you, a client cares only about the total cost of the construction. But if you are a quantity surveyor working for a contractor, how do we calculate this cost? There are so many elements included, which we are discussing all the time in cost engineering professional here. And also, if you are a subcontractor, again, you are looking into your own cost, but in the end, in the perspective of the contractor, your cost as a subcontractor is just one number. It is called subcontractor cost, and he doesn't care. So each of these levels don't care about how the level below calculated his cost. He cares only about the final figure. A main contractor doing the waterproofing, he needs only how much is the rate per square meter. He doesn't care how did you calculate it. And accordingly, the client also needs how much is the total value of the project from the main contractor. He also doesn't care how the main contractor calculated this cost. So you need to learn to see things from different perspectives. If you are working for a consultant, for example, the consultant rule is to protect the interest of the client. So how the consultant is seeing the things, he is seeing that I must make sure that the contractor is not claiming for anything that is in his contract, so that the client will not pay anything that is extra to what is supposed to be paid. So this is how the consultant is seeing the project in terms of commercials I am talking. The third point we have here is that I want you to understand that time is money. And this is very obvious. We all know that time is money. But what I'm trying to tell you to focus about is that what is the duration of the project? And within this duration, what will be the running spend? Forget the materials and everything, because this is depend on the quantity that you will calculate. You will measure in the drawings and calculate the quantity, and accordingly you will estimate the price. But the project duration is a very important factor when you calculate the general requirements, as we discussed, and the salaries and the water and the electricity and the consumables and the daily basis expense. All of that you have to look into, because time is money. And for example, you are quoting a project today. Today you are estimating the project and you will submit your price tomorrow. But within the activities of the project, there might be 1 or 2 activities that will be executed only after 2 years from now. So the question is, after 2 years from now, will the price of the activity and the stuff and the salary and everything, is it going to be same? This is the first question. Second question, the currency itself, the power of the currency. After 2 years from now, will one currency today will be equal to one currency after 2 years? There is inflation and there is many other factors that will affect the value of the currency that you are using. So after 2 years from now, the currency value, or what you can buy with 1 unit of this currency, will be less. So you have to account for that from today, because you are pricing the project today. But you will take 2 years or maybe 2.5 or even 3 years. It depends on the project size, of course. But if the duration is long, you need to account for these things. You need to be sure that you have priced everything correctly, because there is something called the time value of money. You have to apply the time value of money principles in order to understand 1 unit today, how much is it after 2 years? So your price should be more for this activity. So these things you have to start looking into. And the fourth point I have here is that we need to start learning procurement and negotiations. Because see, when you are sitting in a meeting and the way you talk, the way you express what you think, all of this is very important. Negotiation is one of the important things in the construction industry. Let it be a commercial meeting or a progress meeting or any kind of meetings, or even if you are awarding a subcontract package, or if you are a main contractor and you are sitting with the client in order to take the project, your confidence while you are talking, this is very important. And actually, from my experience, I understood, or I found, that procurement will really help you build your confidence, because you will just be meeting people, subcontractors and consultant and everyone on daily basis, and not one. Your whole day will be meeting the people and talking to the people and all of this. So during the talking, you need to be very confident and you need to learn how to negotiate. You need to give something in order to get something. So these things are very important to start learning and focusing on learning, because I understand that these things will come with experience, but they will not come on their own. You will have to work on them in order to grow. You need to understand how to procure, how to negotiate, how to look at your budget, how to meet the budget, or how to procure on a price lower than the budget and make saving and all of this. And in order for this to happen, you need to be a good talker. You have to sit and be able to convince the one sitting in front of you that what you are saying is the right thing to do. Of course, this is a skill actually, but any skill can be developed. You can work on it to make it happen, to make yourself be able to do this. These are the skills that will help you grow and develop and enhance your career. But if you want to understand what are the basics that you should learn as a quantity surveyor, you can check this video here. And thank you so much for watching, and I appreciate your valuable time. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, don't forget to like it and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video.